Welcome to Psychologist Talks. Today is going to be an election night special. Uncoincidentally, I am sure, I'm going to be talking about how relativism is incredibly dangerous in the world, endless relativism, particularly in the realm of politics. Why might it be dangerous? Now, if you go to my episode on relativism versus absolutism, hopefully you can see that there are plenty of benefits to relativism, and quite fascinatingly, very frequently, relativism is more of a land of left-leaning, kind of more liberal-leaning ideologies than absolutism, which tends to be more conservative. And yet, its entry into politics can be quite dangerous. At least, not its entry, but its proliferation, or if there's way too much relativity, then it can become very dangerous. And how is this dangerous? Well, the world of politics is really interesting because in many ways, the way politicians operate is they look for needs in a community expressed to them, or heaven forbid, actually discerned by themselves because they have their finger on the pulse, the thumb on the pulse. But their job is to try to understand what those needs are and try to meet them. And yet it is unwise in many cases as a leader to firmly commit to actions 110%. Like, you will never get even a stellar leader committing to courses of action, any sort of absolute for sure 100%, because that can be dangerous. If you really don't know the situation, or you're not sure of the outcome, it is dangerous to overcommit. And with that, there's a little bit of relativity, right? This absolute, there's a problem, there's something we're going to do, there's something I will do, I want to do. And then relativism is like, I don't know. We need to kind of figure this out. We need there to be some gray space. We're not 100% sure. Or, we can't commit to this big thing. We need to commit to not committing. We need to actually kind of hold open space for this thing. And so you find a balance between those two. Now, the kind of not so good ones, basically, when, back in the day, they kind of play that game, right, where they kind of quasi-commit, but they're really not fully committing. But at least to their credit, while I don't think that did us a ton of favors, they at least were willing to quasi-commit to something. One of the challenges right now is we have a tendency, it seems to be certain groups, certain parties, certain individuals, there tends to be a commitment to very little. And what is very dangerous, particularly in the hands of powerful leaders, is that when you commit to nothing, or you commit to vague ideas of like, well, it might look something like this, and you never really firmly say, this is for sure what we're going to do, then people are allowed to kind of project whatever they want onto that individual. And the truth, the absolutes, the potential for absolutes are lost in the process, because then all truths are relative. Well, I think that they meant this. Well, I think that they meant this. And it just becomes relative, and you get a division in politics, essentially because everybody has their own stance of what is truth. What is this supposed to be? What is a sensible thing to do? Because it's just all relative. Similarly, that relativity can also be put onto government agencies, bodies, and groups of people, and say like, well, the notion of what they're supposed to do, well, that could be accurate, but in reality, well, we don't know what they do, or maybe they're not what they say that they are, right? They're probably bad, they're probably corrupt. I don't know, I can't say for sure, but it's essentially casting doubt onto what an entity is supposed to be. What is the truth? Like, what is the purpose of the NIH? What is the purpose of, let's go even outside of America, where I'm based? What's the purpose of the WHO? What's the purpose of NATO? Well, this endless relativity, like, well, we're not really sure. We're not 100% sure. Are they really honest? Are they really, capable? Are they really doing what we're supposed to do? We don't know. We don't know. And that's not founded on a truth, right? Like, some people say, oh yeah, it is, these people, this political party, this particular candidate, oh, he knows exactly. Like, au contraire, when someone never really tells you what exactly is going on after years and years of saying they know exactly what's going on, there is relativity there. And that within that relativity, there's a kind of a doubt is cast onto agencies, and with doubt comes distrust. With distrust comes the crumbling of the institutions, and with the crumbling of the institution comes the potential for corruption. All of this relativity allows people who are snake oil salesmen to get in and capitalize on whatever that relative truth is. Because they're like, well, if this is your truth, I have a way to fix it because I know I can sell this to you. Or because there's disagreement, I will create a false notion of a truth because there's nobody who's going to keep me accountable to what truth means. And so I can do whatever I want with this. And at the end of the day, that is the greater consequence. We can talk all about there's distrust in agencies. There's not, politicians don't have to follow through. Those indeed are dangerous things. But the most dangerous aspect of endless relativism of all is it is a conduit for corruption. It's a conduit, it is a guarantee that corruption has a greater chance to embed itself and proliferate unchecked because of this endless relativism. So we'll see how election night goes. And regardless of how it goes, the wheels on this very dangerous, I was almost going to say ships don't have wheels. The wheels on this kind of dangerous car have already been set in motion. There's already this influx of relativism and this influx of just doubt for doubt's sake and naming things to be untrustworthy and unclear even when they are crystal clear. So one way or another, we have to reckon with this. And I will say, if a certain party, a certain ideology within a particular party wins out, that relativism is likely to continue to proliferate. And if we continue down that path, well, mark my words, we will see more corruption. So I'll eat crow if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty good with human psychology. And I think I've said this before. If I was to speak to historians and anthropologists, sociologists, I'd be curious what they have to say about this too. But colored me a little bit concerned. We've got a lot of reckoning to do to invite a little bit of absolutism, this counterbalancing force, into the political sphere. If we are not careful, we will jump off the deep end and find ourselves really in a deep pickle where there is no truth, and within truth lies, lies and corruption proliferate. So there's my quick election night special. As always, I thank you for listening. I thank you for watching, and stay curious.